Hello, folks. Bill Wilson Combat here, and welcome to Gun Guys. Got my good friend Ken Hackathorn listening today, and we're going to discuss handgun ammunition today. Ken, I already know the answer to the first question I'm going to ask you. What's your favorite ammunition?
Free ammo.
OPA, I think you call it.
Other people's ammo is my favorite.
That's one thing we absolutely agree on ammo. That's our absolute favorite. Yeah. But when it comes to training ammunition, we'll start with training ammunition and maybe finish up with carry loads and stuff like that, because we all shoot obviously a lot more training ammo than we ever do duty and service ammo. As far as training ammo goes, as in regards to factory ammunition, what are some of your favorites?
Well, again, I'm kind of like, I think one thing we learned about the gun culture is we're all tightwads when it comes to ammo. But I've learned painfully, like you have, that there really aren't any bargains if the quality isn't there. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like, and today we're now, unlike the Obama years, we're now back into a buyer's market. And right now there's some good deals, and it's hard to beat, for example, Federal. If you can, even the Federal American Eagle is some pretty good ammo. Mm-hmm. The 9-ball, 45-ball. Winchester has always been a pretty popular round. I'll tell you, Bill, one of the things that I've seen lately, particularly with the practice or training ammo, is what we accepted as a quality control standard of, say, a decade ago has somewhat deteriorated.
Oh, we've really seen that with 22 rimfire ammo.
Oh, yeah. I know in the classes I teach, most people go out and they buy bulk, inexpensive, like ball ammo, 9mm, 45, 40, whatever, and it's Remington, Federal, Winchester, sometimes CCI, Spear, whatever. They buy the cheaper stuff. A lot of it's foreign. Sailor and Ballat, the Ruag stuff, Fiochi, whatever. They buy whatever's the best buy. And some of it, unfortunately, the American stuff, is in many ways has been, I see so many problems. I had a guy in a class just recently that was shooting Remington UMC 9mm ball. And he said, hey, check this out. He took it out of the box. Around it looked like a wad cutter. The bullet was in backwards. Mm-hmm. And you go, there was a time you'd have never seen that. Mm-hmm. So the quality has somewhat slipped. But I shop once in a while. I'm like you, hey, that CCI brass blazer for the money is actually, it's pretty inexpensive, and it's just fine for what we want to train and practice with. So I'm a little bit more, not so much brand driven as I am price and value driven. But at one time, like a lot of people were buying the Russian Wolf and Tula stuff, and it was real cheap. And I thought, hey, this is the way to go. I tell you, I don't buy that stuff anymore.
No, I don't either.
The other side of the coin is you and I both see people that'll go out and buy, let's say, a Wilson combat pistol, and they show up for the class and they bought the cheapest crap, the Wolf 230 grain ball ammo, and then they scream about, oh, this gun doesn't work. And why, you put crap in it, it's not going to work with anything that's crap, like putting good ammo in it. So I tend to shop for the best deals online. If you buy in bulk, sometimes there's some great deals.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, I'm like you, Bill. Of course, you got an ammo company working for you. But I reload most of my 9mm, not because it's cheaper, because I'll be honest with you, I look at what it cost me to load. I use Extreme 130 grain bullet you turned me on to. I use like 4.7 of CFE pistol powder. I use CCI small pistol primers. For me to load it, I figured out it's about 13.5 cents to load a round. And when you can buy brand new stuff at 16 or 17 cents a shot, it's like, why reload? Well, the reality is where I live in the wintertime, that's what I do. Mm-hmm. And so when you got 3 feet of snow on the ground and it's 14 below, you know what, I go to the loading room. So I load my 9, and back in the day when we all loaded 45, I loaded the classic, the 200 grain H&G 68. Mm-hmm. Everything from Bullseye to the Unique 231. I'm using clays now, but so I tend to load that stuff. If I'm going to shoot anything else, I tend to buy it in quantity. But I've had great luck with, for example, one time I had a great deal on Fiochi. Unfortunately, Fiochi's got really hard primers. Mm-hmm. So that can be an issue on some guns. That MagTech I've had great luck with. Mm-hmm. But it's some of the primers on those are a little
Oh,
stiff.
they're pretty hard primers.
Pretty
too.
hard primers. So I tell people you got to kind of shop. If you're going to shoot your gun and say in a Glock, say you're going to shoot it well. Remember, if you're one of those folks that think that putting a light striker spring in your gun gives you a better trigger pull,
Better buy Federal.
better buy Federal because you're going to have ignition problems. But if you shoot a 1911 a lot like we do, and you guys use real mainsprings, they'll bust about anything. So I say I kind of am price driven when I buy. I'm not so much brand loyalty driven. How does it work for you?
Well, I'm probably a little more brand loyal than what you are. You just can't go wrong buying Federal. I mean, every now and then they're going to make a mistake, like all of us make mistakes.
Overall,
you know. But day in, day out, I mean, it's just hard to beat Federal. You know,
by the way,
American Eagle.
It's been that way for a long time.
Yeah.
As far as quality.
Yeah. And you know, as far as foreign stuff goes, I mean, we've had great luck with PMC. I mean, it's really accurate ammo, no issues with it. The cases are good for reloading, but it's loaded really light. So, I mean, some guns won't run with ammo that light. I mean, their 115 grain load typically doesn't even make IDPA power for. So, if you try to shoot it for a match, you got to watch for that.
You know, a lot of the European loaded, say 9mm, is loaded to a European standard, which is a little bit higher as far as the SAMI isn't. It's what we call NATO spec. And there's some really good European stuff. The RUAG stuff is superb. There's a bunch of now coming in. It's German MEM, which is the German factory that makes ammo for the German government. And their 9-ball is superb. But I will tell you, it's NATO spec and it's pretty steamy. It's 124 grain, and when you touch it off, there's no question that you're shooting a real 9mm. But so if your gun or your needs you want a really snappy round, European stuff's pretty hard to beat. There's a downside to it. Is one, it's really loud, and number two, it does more recoil impulse. So,
oh yeah, that's something we've noticed with our shooting group there. Some of the guys, I think the really loud one is that it's a division of Federal Estate, that Estate 9mm.
Oh,
that sound like a cannon going off when they shoot. I mean, it's like, you know, you step back when that guy's on the line. But
it's like a guy shooting a 38 Super.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's not bad ammo overall. It's just so damn loud. It must be loaded with power pistol or something like that. Because as you know, power pistol is like unbelievably loud when you use it.
Yeah. So I think the reality is you identify the rounds you're going to use the most of, and quite honestly, if you shop around, if you can afford it, quantity purchase is almost always less expensive. And let's be honest, the shipping fees sometimes are what eats you up.
Yeah,
you got to be conscious of that.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking training ammo, I want to mention something that I believe in, and just get your opinion if you agree or disagree or whatever. There's a couple of different things on a new shooter that inhibits them from, getting to where they don't flinch, for example. And one of them is the recoil, obviously, which makes it easier if they shoot 9s as opposed to 45. But the other thing is the muzzle blast, just like we're talking about the state ammo.
Oh, yeah.
I've found that in training, if I get people to use subsonic ammo, 147 grain, 135 grain, stuff like that stays subsonic and takes that crack out of it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm shooting a 9mm now. They don't have much recoil to deal with. They don't have much muzzle blast to deal with, and therefore they shoot better than they do if they're shooting the ammo that sound like a cannon's going off every time they pull the trigger.
I had some folks I was working with recently, and one of the guys had a Smith & Wesson Shield, 9mm, and he was shooting, I don't know what it was, but it was, not only did it really loud, it had a lot of flash. In the daytime you could see it, and he was not doing well. And I grabbed, and I had some, I'll be honest, I hadn't shot much of it, some of the Aguila 147. And I said, here, shoot this. And man, it made a big difference. And by the way, I hadn't shot much. I since have shot some. That 147 Aguila stuff is accurate as can be. I was really impressed. But you're absolutely right. For the most part, if you can keep that velocity in a 9mm, say right around 1,000, no more than 1,000, say 25, and I know you like to go below that, but if you're going to go out and shoot a lot of ammo, that concussion is reduced to the point where it's actually not unpleasant to shoot.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And shorter barrels make it worse.
That's right. Let's talk about carry ammo. I know you have access to, some LE ammo that's, some of us don't have access to, but, barring that stuff, I mean, ammo that Joe Average can go buy at Cabela's or wherever. Yeah. What do you recommend?
And again, I kind of have to go on what I see in the training environment I'm in. And you talk to people, and one of the things I'm lucky about, I get to sometimes to deal with enough law enforcement people that come from agencies where they've done some, the real shootings, and they get some feedback. And one of which you learn real quick is, remember, you and I both know this. It's about bullet placement. A bad hit with the best hollow point in the world is going to give you the results you want. So, but what I can see now, first off, all the manufacturers, because of competition, are forced to make better quality ammo. And there's an argument, of course, that you and I both agree the quality of 9mm self-defense ammo, technically hollow point ammo, has improved to the point where it kind of eliminated a lot of that argument, 9 versus 45.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in my heart, I still got to believe the 45 is a little better. The problem is, I don't know how much better. But there's a lot of good rounds on the market. And again, there was a time when 147 grain 9 in the real world didn't get the performance quite that we wanted to get. Well, they've made dramatic changes now. And I'm thinking for most people, if you add the point that you're talking about where they don't have the hideous muzzle blast, it's a little softer shooting, because most of those things are only going 970, 980 feet per second. They've got the bullet technology where it does expand reliably. That a 147, say like this new Federal HST 147, I just talked to a guy recently in a class, and his agency, big agency in the West Coast, they've been using the Remington Golden Saber 147 9mm. He said they've had spectacular results with that round. So I would probably lean, I'm not a big fan of real lightweight hollow points.
To me, it's back, a lot of it's back to that muzzle blast. I mean, some of these light plus P plus loads are extremely loud, and almost all your 147s, even if it's a plus P 147 load, still stays subsonic. Yeah,
and the fact that we know that when you push a lightweight bullet really fast, you always limit penetration. The faster it expands, the less the penetration. So 124 in mine and 9mm is kind of as light as I want to go. 147 I'm leaning towards. I'm carrying right now. This is a Spear, what they call G2. It's a 147. It's the FBI issue bullet. At least that's what they tell me. I won't say where I got this ammo, but it's an accurate load. It's a soft shooting load. It's not abusive. It's got the little clear rubber plug in the front. I'm told that they're actually in the process of maybe going to even another 147 from another vendor based upon test results. But I kind of lean towards the 147 9mm for carry now. 45, based on your influence, I was always a 230 grain 45 carry load. I'm actually now leaning more towards a 200 grain or the 185s as far as that. I recognize that you probably don't need 230 grain bullet penetration wise, and the 185s are kind of a balance in recoil impulse and shootability.
I really like that 200 grain Hornady XDP.
That's a great bullet.
I mean, it's pretty much got it all. I mean, it's superbly accurate.
Reliable.
It feeds better than ball, and it expands adequate. I've shot a couple of deer and a few hogs with that bullet, and it's done great.
Oh yeah. One of the things I think about, Bill, and I'm sure you've noticed, would say the same thing. Whatever you do, testing your gun, make sure it feeds reliably.
Oh yeah,
because I see people buying rounds that they've never tested it, and you go, wow, you're really taking a chance. My experience is real short, stubby bullets, stay away from them, feeding wise.
Oh yeah. One of the tests I have when I get a new 9mm, I go out and shoot a few boxes of Federal American Eagle 147 flat point. It's loaded too short. It's got a big flat point on it. And when I was developing the 1911 9mm mags, I learned that if you could make the gun run, if your magazine would feed that ammo, it would feed anything else. And so that's the first thing I do. I'll go out and go shoot a couple, 3 boxes of that ammo. If the gun runs with that ammo, I got a pretty high level of confidence it's going to work with everything else.
I think you're right.
And so on carry loads, as long as you don't pick a short one, it's probably going to function just fine.
I've kind of reached a point in life where I would say the sweet spot in 45 autos are 200 grain bullet.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
And in the 9mm, in many ways, I kind of have this feeling, and I'm not 100%, I'm not a ballistician, but I would like to think that maybe a 135
135 is the
is
ticket.
the sweet spot.
But then Hornady does that 135, I forget what the
Critical duty.
critical duty or whatever. Why did they load it so stupid short? I mean, they took a great idea there, and they made it hard to feed because
Right.
it's so damn short.
Right.
You know. So anyway,
So, and 40 we don't talk about because face it, it's dying a slow death.
it's going to be a 41 Magnum someday.
Yeah, and 357 SIG's already practically evaporated. So it's a 9mm 45 world in America. The rest of the world, it's a 9mm world.
Yeah, that's right.
So practice ammo, OPA is the best.
Yeah.
But if you got to buy it, buy the best quality that you can afford.
That's right.
That's reasonably priced. And duty ammo, I would say buy a major brand. Although, you know what? Some of the stuff that Wilson Combat loads, you guys sent me some 38 Super, and that's some pretty impressive ammo. That's some of the best shooting and the best performing 38 Super ammo I've ever found.
Well, in 9mm, our 115 Barnes load, you know, our Pinnacle load. I mean, that's a very top performing load right there. You know, I often carry that.
Good.
Folks, thanks for joining us, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.